It's my favorite superhero. Hi, Elie Mystal. Hi.
Yeah, a bunch of those Republicans liked Fox just fine when they were wondering where Obama's birth certificate was.
Yes.
They liked it just fine when they were talking about whether or not Obama was a Kenyan. But now that the monster they've created has started to eat them, now they have issues.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not what we're talking about. Hi, Stephanie.
Yeah. Hi. Oh, hi. Well, it is.
Whatever.
Let's get right to the law on this. I gotta let me throw Lawrence Tribe's tweet at you. I mean, because we were saying, like, Liz Cheney, man, whatever you think of her, she's going right for the jugular. As someone said, like, she's a heat-seeking missile who has identified her enemy, and it's Donald Trump, and it's. But Lawrence Tribe says of Meadows, he says, proof of Mr. Meadows' deep involvement in the effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election is proof of seditious conspiracy punishable by 20 years in prison, 18 U.S.C. 2384, not just controversial political activity. These are, I mean, I don't know. You know me. I'm happy clappy, but I know we're all like so exhausted and don't want to be hopeful that justice will actually come. But, you know, a lot of people, Harry Littman, others that we know, are saying that the calculus feels like it changed this week. What do you think?
Maybe Larry Tribe should be the Attorney General.
There you go.
Maybe our friend Glenn Kirshner. Should be the Attorney General.
Yes.
You know, maybe Sam Waterston from Law and Order, like the actual actor, should be the Attorney General, because the current Attorney General, Merrick Garland, does not seem to be paying attention to these crimes. And like where we all come down to is that if you're gonna make some of these arguments, you need a prosecutor willing to make them. Congress, the Select Committee, that's great. I'm glad they're investigating things. You know what? Let's say the Select Committee gets everything they want. They get the documents, they get Bannon, they get the what's the end game for the Congressional Committee? A report.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, though. They're an investigative body. They're not a prosecutorial body. You're correct. But
the Department of Justice is the prosecutorial body, and I've said repeatedly, these Republicans would not be playing these subpoena dodging shenanigans if it was the FBI making the subpoena requests as opposed to Congress. Because when the FBI says turn over documents and you say no, you go to jail.
Right.
You go to jail and you sit there while you work on your appeal for executive. Like that's how the FBI rolls. That's not how Congress is allowed to roll. So, I mean, I have different arguments for how Congress could roll like that, but let's put those to the side for the second, right? At the end of the day, Merrick Garland doesn't seem to be interested in taking these people on head on, and that's where our problem is. Do I love some of the legal theories that I've heard about different ways that you can prosecute Trump or prosecute Meadows or get these guys? Some of them are complicated. Some of them are hard. I don't know that all of them would work. What I do know is that we should be trying all of them.
Yes.
We should be in an all of the above mode, and Merrick Garland keeps us in a none of the above mode.
Right. Well, yeah. In fact, this is what everybody's talking about, what Representative Ed Perlmutter said yesterday as regards Meadows. Take a listen.
You know, I'm surprised, because I think what we're going to get next from Mr. Meadows is probably something like we got from Mr. Clark about the desire to take the Fifth Amendment. Because 18 U.S.C. 115, following, Article 3, Clause 1, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to the enemies, giving them aid and comfort.
Went on to say, real quick,
and 18 U.S.C. 115, which is why I think that we're going to see the Fifth Amendment being pled. Whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death. I mean, this is a death penalty statute. Or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title but not less than $10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States.
Okay, and last one on the memos, even before Meadows.
Just the memos that have been disclosed to this point, in my opinion, are treasonous. And we've danced around this a lot, and we talk about obstructing Congress and things like that. But this was an effort to have a coup, to overthrow the country, to break the pledge of allegiance we make to this country and to the Constitution. I really am disappointed in Mr. Meadows. We always had a good working relationship here. He has two masters, Donald Trump and the United States of America, and I could see he's in a pickle about that.
I think pickle may be a mild word legally. You can tell us. But I mean, Mark Meadows, can you explain this to me legally? There's no such thing as takesies backsies, is there, in the law? I mean, he's already given up the documents and talked about it on Fox and in his book. I mean, talk to us just your view of Mark Meadows and what's going to happen there.
Just a real quick privilege primer. You have privileges that reflect a confidence between you and another party, entity, person, whatever. Once you break that privilege by showing the documents or the conversation to a person who is not protected by the privilege, then you lose the privilege. Right. It is as simple as that. There's like people understand like the spousal privilege, right? Like if I tell my wife I buried a body in the backyard, I have a privilege because we're married. She's not allowed to go tell the cops on me. But if I then go on your show and say like, oh, Steph, I also buried a body in my backyard, then guess what? My wife can talk to whoever she wants. Like that's because I've broken the privilege. Like it's this real simple concept here. Mark Meadows has no legal ground to stand on. Steve Bannon has no legal ground to stand on. They're not trying to stand on legal grounds. They're trying to run out the clock. And everybody understands what the actual game here is. They're trying to run out the clock because they think if they can get to the midterms and Republicans can take control of the House, the Republicans will immediately stop the Select Committee, because why would the Republicans investigate their own treason? They'll stop the Select Committee, and that will be that. And that's all they're going for. It's just a delay tactic. There's no law there. And the question is if they're gonna make it. Like, quite frankly, Congress has been slow on this. They're moving. I think Adam Schiff likes to use the word expeditiously. I believe that they're kind of moving with all deliberate speed, but all deliberate speed is still too slow for what our timeline is looking like. And that's why I come back to the Department of Justice, because if the Department of Justice was handling this, we don't have 11 more months. We have 2.5 more years to bring these people to justice if Merrick Garland would get in the game, but he's not.
Right. But how do you know that? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you know it's not ongoing as the January 6th committee is as well?
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? And I'm so happy you asked that question because I get it a lot. There is, of course, and Garland defenders, of course, want to say that there is a super double secret investigation going on that nobody knows about because Merrick Garland is also James Bond. And he's doing it behind the scenes, and he and Q have that's an argument. It's possible. But what we have seen is that when these people are questioned, whether it's Meadows, Bannon, Flynn, Clark, when these people are questioned, they moan, they complain, they run to Fox, they run to podcasts, they complain about unfair treatment from the government. And we don't see them complaining about the FBI knocking at their door. So is it possible that Garland is conducting an investigation that we just don't know about? Sure. Yes, it's possible. But is he questioning these people and getting their documents and then having these people not complain about it? I just find that to be highly unlikely.
I mean, I don't know how this works. That's why I'm honestly asking, because I don't know, is it parallel to January 6th? Is it possible he's waiting for what the January 6th committee? I mean, I know everybody brings up Oliver North, right? That you have to be careful what you give immunity for with Congress because it can screw up an actual conviction later by a DOJ. What's your take on all that?
Well, that's why he needs to be in the game now. He can't be waiting to see what the January 6th Select Committee does, because if he does, then the Select Committee, and there's no coordination, and there shouldn't be. I mean, at some kind of basic government level, there shouldn't be a coordination between the Democratic Party and the Attorney General. But if there's no coordination, then it's entirely possible that Congress might give immunity to people in order to make them testify in front of Congress that then would screw up Garland's ability to prosecute them later, which is why he should be in the game right now.
Okay. Got it.
He should be part of this investigation right now, and that's why I keep kind of coming back to the fact this is why it doesn't look like he is. Because if he is, the question of who's gonna get immunity is not Adam Schiff's, it's not Jamie Raskin's, it's not Benny Thompson's, it's Merrick Garland's, because he's the person who ultimately has to make the decision about whether or not to try to put these people in jail.
Yeah. So speaking of justice delayed, denied, whatever, the federal judge that tossed Trump's lawsuit is a Trump-appointed judge, right? To block his income taxes from being released to Congress. But here we go. There's always at the end of the story, judge put his ruling on hold for 14 days to give Trump legal team time to appeal. Can they just appeal this forever? It seems like he keeps losing on his taxes, and yet we still don't have them, right?
Yes, it's so. I'm choosing my words carefully because I just want to melt into a profanity-laced
Me too.
situation here. It is bull excrement.
Yes.
What Trump has been able to do with his taxes. At no point has Trump had a colorable legal argument to shield his taxes from Congress. There has not been a single day where Trump has forwarded a credible legal argument. Every single lawyer and judge who has looked at his legal argument has told him that it is ridiculous and that he needs to turn over his taxes forthwith. But he keeps appealing and appealing and appealing and stringing it out and stringing it out. He already got through one entire election cycle without having to release his taxes, and now he's going for number 2. And quite frankly, one of the ways, fix is not exactly the right word I want to use, but one of the ways to stop this from happening in 2024, while he'll still be appealing and appealing and appealing, is for Congress to pass a law mandating that anybody who runs for federal office has to release at least 5 or 10 years of their previous taxes. That law was in HR 1. You know who doesn't like that part of the law? Joe Manchin.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started.
Like literally, when you look at the difference between HR 1, which is a Voting Rights Act and an Ethics Reform Act, versus the Freedom to Vote Act, which is the voting rights bill that Manchin supports. The difference between HR 1 and Manchin's Freedom to Vote Act is the tax thing.
Yeah.
It's the ethics reform. All those you have to show your taxes. The federal government official can't funnel money to his family's businesses. All of that is what Joe Manchin took out of the bill to get to the Freedom of Vote Act.
Like
somebody should ask him why.
He's the Newman of the Democratic Party, isn't he? Newman. Guess who ruined that? Newman. Quickly, because you're determined to be Captain Buzzkill today, so you reacted to Gavin Newsom saying if states can shield their laws from review by federal courts, then California will use that authority to help protect lives. We will work to create the ability for private citizens to sue anyone who manufactures, distributes, or sells an assault weapon or ghost gun kit or parts in California. And you said, I get this, but if you think SCOTUS is bound by its own logic and is unable to issue 2 completely conflicting opinions bathed in their own hypocrisy, you just haven't been paying attention. You said, don't get me wrong, as stunts go, I think this is a good one. But people have to understand it's a stunt, not a solution. Oh, Elie, really? Did you just have to buzzkill our whole California high on this?
Was that the Price is Right?
It was. Yes.
That was the sad trumpet of justice. Go ahead.
That
ahead.
is on my bucket list, by the way. Achievement unlocked. It's a great idea. It's not going to work. And I love the idea. It's not going to work. It's what I want people. It's not going to work because for it to work, you have to have conservative justices who act in good faith. And they don't. The fundamental argument that Newsom is making is the same argument that Texas made in SB 8. It's the exact same mechanism that the government would not be taking away gun rights in California. Private citizens, bounty hunters would be taking away those rights. According to the Supreme Court, this is an acceptable workaround for the Constitution. According to the Supreme Court, it is acceptable to use private citizens to take away rights as long as those rights belong to women.
Yeah.
Now, when we switch them to the rights belong to the gun, what the Supreme Court is going to say without flinching, without choking on its own hypocrisy, what the Supreme Court is going to say is that gun rights enjoy a more privileged place in our society and in our constitutional law than women's rights. They will say that with a straight face. the decision
What if we-
will be hypocritical, of course.
What if we
Will it
start calling our vaginas rocket launched baby missile launchers? Something.
Right.
Listen, let's work together on this. We're way long, but we have an extra sad trumpet for you.
Be